Hi, welcome to my Sunday weekly live stream, show number 6. I appreciate you tuning in. I know that it's made it to my Facebook music page. I don't know if it's made it anywhere else, but thank you for joining me on my Facebook page. Got a show today lined up with some older songs I haven't played in a long time. I hope you like them. First one here is a baseball song. It's about the greatest bench warmer in the history of the game. This man sat for 1,152 consecutive games without ever playing, and his name was Splinter Cheeks Johnson.
You count on Splinter Cheeks Johnson to cheer, a utility player for his whole career. He ate sunflower seeds and he chewed bubble gum, and he always made sure to save the other guys some. He put his uniform on every day, sat in the dugout and shouted, hooray! He would sign autographs after the game. Nobody ever had heard of the name. 52 consecutive games, all the bubbles he blew. Not one single inning did he ever play. He worked hard to keep himself out of the way. He won a World Series and he got his ring. He got sprayed with champagne, it was the craziest thing. He got to ride in the next day's parade. A full share of the World Series pot he was paid. Now in case you might wonder, and most people would, they kept him around because he was good. He would always move over with excellent form. The spot that he vacated always was warm. One time got sent out on deck, the streak on the line, his nerves were a wreck. But the batter ahead of him made the last out. Way to go, Splinter Cheeks! Nobody shouted. Splinter Cheeks Johnson was always prepared, quick to react if trouble should flare. He was always willing to take one for the team from a secret stash of hemorrhoid cream. Now Splinter Cheeks Johnson's body wore out. It was sad to see, but there was no doubt about it. He'd start to lose steam by the top of the 5th. His eyelids got heavy and his posture would drift. Now one time Splinter Cheeks was taking a nap. He covered his eyes with the bill of his cap. A murderous foul ball bounced off his head. They carried him away. Splinter Cheeks, he was dead. Baseball card set, a nickel is probably the most you could get. He had no statistics to put on the backs, not even any interesting facts. You could count on Splinter Cheeks Johnson to cheer, a utility player for his whole career. He ate sunflower seeds and he chewed bubble gum, and he made sure to save all the other guys some.
I want to show you a picture of Splinter Cheeks Johnson. That was him right there. I'll fess up and tell you that that's a made-up story. My friend Jerry Grillo from North Georgia one day posted a photograph. That photograph, that's him, by the way. But he posted that photograph of himself online with this little made-up story, about a paragraph long, about Splinter Cheeks Johnson holding the record for most consecutive games not played in. And well, I saw that and I just took it and ran with it, and thankfully Jerry was very gracious about it, the fact that I wrote the song from his little story. So that thought I'd reveal that today. This next song is a true story about a fella who was recruited by the partisans in France during World War II. His name was Adolfo Kaminsky, and he had a great knowledge of inks and dyes and various materials like papers and cloth because he had worked in the garment industry. And the partisans realized he would make he'd be a perfect candidate to be a forger of documents and passports, and so they recruited him. And I read about him in a book that his daughter put out, because Adolfo never told a soul about this until he was 89 years old. He never told his wife, never told his daughter. He only worked with one single handler within the partisan movement because it was just too risky to have anybody else know. And so his daughter, Sarah Kaminsky, wrote this book called A Forger's Life. And I had heard about it, and so I ended up buying it, and it was a fantastic read, and I wrote this song from it.
Up on the third floor, I used to rent a room. It got no fresh air. You could get dizzy from the fumes. I'd spend the nights in there. Maybe I'd sleep a few winks. Clear a place somewhere between the papers and the inks. I had a printing press. It was my Tommy gun. I dreamed I'd ambush them whenever it would run. I couldn't shoot a man. Well, this was what I could do with my documents. The guards would have waved them through. I didn't know them. I never met them. But how could I turn away and just forget them? I still can picture some of their faces. They were desperate to leave for safer places. I was an artisan, a counterfeiter. A steady hand that didn't get the jitters. One day the partisans told me my skills were needed. There was madness on the rise, had to be defeated. I doctored names, altered their ages, put a different face of earth upon the pages. I made them businessmen. I made them teachers. I made them someone else with all the same features. I didn't know them. I never met them. But how could I turn away and just forget them? I still can picture some of their faces. They were desperate to leave for safer places. I'd meet my handler in busy cafes. We would trade envelopes, then go our separate ways. No time for small talk, too many lives at stake. passports to reproduce. All night I'd be awake. I worked in secrecy. Nobody knew of this, not even my daughter or my wife. It was just too much risk. They said I worked too much. I couldn't tell them why. But now I have to tell someone before I die. I didn't know them. I never met them. How could I turn away and just forget them? I still can picture some of their faces. They were desperate to leave for safer places. I didn't know them. I never met them. But how could I turn away and just forget them? Still can picture some of their faces.
That was The Forger. So there's a fun story behind this next song. It was told to me by a woman who used to be part of my life in a big way. And it turns out that she had been given her great-grandfather's diary. And she read about a fella in that diary who was unfortunately he had his fun time squashed by this woman's great-grandfather. And this is the story of that.
William Henry Paddle, would you care to dance? It probably wouldn't kill you. Would you like another chance? Times have changed a little. It's not so grave a sin. So if it be your pleasure, feel free to jump right in. Now the Reverend Buchanan was 21 years old, in the service of the church, and it did as he was told. This was back when Newfoundland was barely just a rock. He was sent to bring the heathens back into the flock. Now William Henry Paddle heard a knocking at the door. William Henry Paddle's mother stood there lily white and pure. She was visibly shaken, there was panic in her words. The devil's down the road, come quick before someone gets hurt. William Henry Paddle's mother found out her son had gone to a very wicked party where there was music going on. There was laughter, there was singing, there was dancing there as well. William Henry Paddle's mother was afraid he'd go to hell. So the Reverend grabbed his Bible and his other tools of battle, put his collar and his hat on, and he hopped into the saddle. William Henry Paddle's mother left the Reverend eating dust. When she burst into the cabin, William Henry Paddle cussed. William Henry Paddle's mother, she did not leave a trace of the smile that had been on William Henry Paddle's face. And when he saw the Reverend, William bowed his head in shame, afraid there might forever be a mark upon his name. Now that scolding that the Reverend gave was all brimstone and fire. Unmarried dancing partners lost all of their desires. The fiddles all got packed away, the girls put up their hair, and all the party goers joined the Reverend in prayer. Montreal some 40-odd years later. In William Henry Paddle's life, there was no moment greater than when he bumped into the Reverend, introduced him to his wife, thanked him for that evening when the Reverend saved his life. Now the Reverend's diary fell into his great-granddaughter's hands. She read about this fella who was not allowed to dance. So to find out if his grave might be finally free to rattle, she did a jig upon the grave of William Henry Paddle, singing, William Henry Paddle, would you care to dance? It probably would not kill you. Would you like another chance? Times have changed a little. It's not so grave a sin. So if it be a pleasure, feel free to jump right in. So I'm going to move from Newfoundland, one province over, to Nova Scotia. My very first time playing at the Stan Rogers Folk Festival in the wee little community of Canso, Nova Scotia, at the furthest end of the earth. It was a very spiritual experience for me, very, very much unlike your typical festival experience for a performer, because of the fact that Stan Rogers spent his last night on earth at the Kerrville Folk Festival in Texas. Not only at the same folk festival that I go to every year, but at the very same campfire that's my home base there. And so there was a real spiritual connection there. Stan was actually supposed to fly home a day or two earlier than he did, and because of that campfire and the little scene that he fell into, he decided to change his ticket. And the flight that he did take caught fire, and Stan unfortunately died in that airplane fire. But there I was at the Stan Rogers Festival as an emissary of that campfire, because that's where all my buddies hang out. We all get together there every May. And I just knew, there was some kind of a spiritual connection. I had actually thought about Stan many times under the stars at that campfire, and the fact that that was where he spent his last night. Although I never had really listened to Stan Rogers' music until I got to the festival. And they have a Sunday afternoon show called Singing Stan, where everything else at the festival shuts down. And everybody gravitates over to the main stage, and 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 different performers will do Stan Rogers songs. So, leading into this, I was in the green room, which is the Lions Club, just backstage. That's where all the musicians hang out when they're not performing. And I saw a friend of mine who was from Canso, and she was wiping away tears. And I asked if everything was okay, and she said, yeah, but it was the anniversary of a tragic auto accident 20 years earlier that took the life of her uncle, and also a fellow by the name of Leo Kennedy, who was a very, very beloved person in their community. He was a door-to-door salesman, had suffered polio as a child, and so walked a bit funny. But he would make the rounds on foot all over Guysborough County, selling things like pots and pans and light bulbs and sewing supplies and whatever you might need. He probably had it. And he'd get invited into people's homes and sit and chat for a while, and everybody loved him. So there I bumped into my friend Jenny, and she was upset, not just because it was the anniversary of her uncle, but it was because of the fact that Leo didn't have any family left in the area to visit his grave like her uncle did. And when she told me that, I realized I had a couple of hours before I was supposed to perform again, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go visit Leo. So I asked her where the cemetery was, and she said it was just a few blocks away, not very far. And it was up a hill, and from the vantage point of the cemetery, you could look right down at the festival. You could see the main stage from there. You could hear everything beautifully. So that's where I spent Singing Stan, at the grave of Leo Kennedy. And I started to write this song there. And I wrote a bit more throughout the weekend, and that was kind of the rough draft of it. But when I got home, I turned it into this song here. Hardly anybody goes to visit Leo, all but forgotten except by a few.
I'll try that again.
Hardly anybody goes to visit Leo, all but forgotten except by a few. I heard somebody speak so fondly of him, made me wish I knew him. Got directions to the churchyard, took a walk up on the hill that overlooks the Stan Rogers Folk Festival, the year that I was on the bill. It was in the local Lions Club. It was the backstage dining hall. Saw a picture there of Leo, framed and hanging on the wall. Such a good-hearted fella, so said all the people I know who knew him. Must have been someone who loved the man, whoever the artist was that drew him. Leo in his uniform, pins and medals decorate his vest, rolled up shirt sleeves and a funny hat, tilted slightly to the west. So if you're up in Cancel, Nova Scotia, it's just a flat stone on the ground. He lies just next to Lumsden. You might have to look around. It's just a simple little marker, two hands clasped in prayer. I sat down beside it and I said, little one there, I'd only heard about Stan Rogers. Now it was time to listen to him. His songs brought back to life again, about people I know who knew him. And I thought about a campfire in the Texas morning light, and that feeling that you leave with after being there all night. And so I'm saying farewell to Leo, 'cause it was nearly a quarter till the ballads of Stan Rogers I'd been enjoying from the hill. Stay for another song, son, I thought I'd heard somebody say. For one more song and I had to smile before I walked away.
I forgot to tell you one integral part of that story. Just as I looked at my watch and I realized I needed to walk back to the festival site because I had a performance coming up pretty soon, I heard the singer on stage, the recently departed Laura Smith, sing the line from one of Stan's songs, "Stay for another song, son," just as I realized I needed to get back. And so I was commanded, and I stayed for another song. Let's see what's next. I should do a baseball song, shouldn't I? This is a new baseball song. I've played it in one of my other weekly live streams. It's about a fella by the name of Brian Mazzone, who was a career minor league pitcher. He switched teams 20 different times in his career. Pitched in such places as Adelanto, California, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Reading, Pennsylvania, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, Mexicali, Mexico, Obregon, Mexico, Valencia, Venezuela. He even pitched in Korea. And at the age of 30, he was in the Philadelphia Phillies organization, and the Phillies had one of their pitchers had a sore arm and needed to miss a start, so they called up Brian Mazzone for his very first major league start as a 30-year-old rookie. And this is what happened that day.
There was orange on the radar. In some places it was red. You saw it on the TV. Well, he was still in bed. Room service brought him breakfast, some good coffee as well. You could get used to staying at a major league hotel. Well, it was raining hard that morning. The whole day it would pour, and he would just stare out the window from the 27th floor. The night before at supper, some joint in Buffalo, skipper called to tell him he was going to the show. Text messages and emails were lighting up his phone from all his friends and family, from everyone he'd ever known. His folks flew in from Boston. His wife just made her flight. They all got there the next day to see him pitch that night. Well, he put his big league pants on, and he tied his big league shoes, while a couple of big leaguers were giving interviews. His name was in the lineup, and he was mentioned on the news. He'd knocked around a dozen years for this. He'd even pitched in Veracruz. And so he walked out through that tunnel to stand on a big league mound. His tears mixed with the raindrops, and he felt like he might drown. He squeezed the big league baseball. He ran his fingers along the seams. The rain was cruel and stung him as it washed away his dreams. And it was flooded in the dugout. It was a lonely place to sit. He thought of going to Korea, or maybe it was time to quit. And how next time they need a pitcher, they'll probably call up some kid. And every time thereafter, that's exactly what they did. Well, that tarp was never lifted, and that storm never let up. It's like he got his cup of coffee without the coffee cup. They let him keep his jersey. Oh, they boxed it soaking wet. And that was as close to the majors as he would ever get. Well, now you can say that's baseball, especially if you never played. But for the guy who worked his ass off and whose dues were overpaid, well, this was all he'd ever wanted ever since the 7th grade. Congratulations were in order, but condolences were paid. Oh, that tarp was never lifted, and that storm never let up. It's like he got his cup of coffee without the coffee cup.
You know, I forgot at the start of the show, I wanted to introduce you to my friend and assistant, Barbie Angel. So let me do that now. Barbie is monitoring the comments, and if you have any questions, she's the one that will be answering you, because I'm not able to look at the comments while I'm doing the live stream. And Barbie is a fantastic poet and performance artist in her own right. 9 years running, she has been voted the best poet of Western North Carolina by the local readers here. So you might want to check her out. It's Barbie Angel with 2 L's. She has a YouTube page. She has barbieangel.com, the website, and you can find her on Facebook as well. I'd also like to mention the fact that I am looking to do some Zoom concerts for you. They're really fun. All you need to do is get a small group of people together. Can be several households. We can have up to 100 different people sign in on my account. But, you know, a group of 10 or 12 people is just fine. And if you're interested in that, contact me either through Facebook or chuck@chuckbrodsky.com. I'd also like to let you know about my recorded music. If you're interested in buying CDs, you can get them from chuckbrodsky.com. And if you're interested in digital downloads, you can go to bandcamp.com/chuckbrodsky. Barbie will drop these URLs in the comments section. And all of my digital downloads are available on a pay-what-you-want basis, which is also true of these live stream shows. It's entirely up to you. Whatever you are up for paying is just great. And I can certainly use any contributions that you're able to make. As you probably realize, this is my only means of earning income these days. All of my concerts, at least through the end of the year, and most likely another full year beyond that, have been canceled. And so thank goodness for technology and the fact that I can be with you on Sundays. So I hope you'll keep tuning in. I hope you tell some of your friends and family about these live stream shows. They can also be watched at any time after the fact on YouTube and Facebook. I don't know if this ever made it live to Facebook, but it should at least be archived there after the show. Don't really know what to say about this next song. I had a funny experience in Texas with this song. I was booked for an outdoor event, and when I showed up, I was asked if I was planning on playing this song, and I told them I hadn't really made up my set list yet, but I'd be happy to play it if they wanted me to. And they said, well, as a matter of fact, we'd prefer you didn't. Well, it turns out a couple months before the show, they'd asked me to send my CD with this song on it. It was a brand new CD at the time. They asked me to send it to the local NPR station, and the station had agreed to play regularly from the CD and help promote the show. So I did that. But it turns out they have a fella at that station whose position there is to listen to all incoming CDs and make sure, there's no material that should be flagged or anything like that, that it's all, fits with their format and type of music they play. And he has a habit of listening to the first track and the third track on every CD and forming his opinion based on that. And this song is track 3. I'm guessing he skipped track 1 and went straight to track 3, and this was the only song he listened to. And when he heard it, he assumed it was autobiographical, which I'm sure you will not do. But he did. And therefore, he decided that not only could this song not be played on their station, but nothing from my entire album could be played on their station, and that was the only album they had of mine. So I got no airplay leading up to the show. We didn't have a great turnout, but I did get a good story to introduce the song with, so all's fair.
Me and my supremacist friends are only doing what God intends. Burning crosses, burning mosques, vandalizing synagogues. We're the patriotic sons with our semi-automatic guns, prepping for a civil war to make things like they was before. Me and my supremacist clan, this is how we take our stand. Underneath a Nazi flag, marching right up the main drag, past the church, past the school, where they teach the golden rule, where the children play outside. When we go by, they run and hide. Secret handshake makes you kin, at the door it gets you in. It's how we tell a friend from foe, it's something only we would know. Supremacist bud, stir each other's thirst for blood, getting drunker by the hour, mixing things that all taste sour, till we can't control the rage. Any excuse to open the cage, it cannot stay inside the house. The beast is foaming at the mouth. Dad one time beat a foreigner bad. He was somewhere he shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been with his color skin. And after Daddy kicked his ass and left him lying in the grass, I got some of my own licks in. He was somewhere he shouldn't have been. The secret handshake makes you kin, at the door it gets you in. It's how we tell a friend from foe, it's something only we would know. Me and my 12-year-old son one time made a foreigner run, chased him down a dead-end street until the circle was complete. There was nowhere that he could run, but I couldn't do what my daddy done. Not in front of my own son. I couldn't do what daddy done. The secret handshake makes you kin, at the door it gets you in. tell a friend from four? It's something only we would know. Secret handshake makes you kin. At the door it gets you in. It's how we tell a friend from four. It's something only we would know.
There's a great story behind this next song, which I'll tell you in a second. But I want to mention the fact that in addition to being able to help me out if you're interested by donating through PayPal or Venmo or Cash App or by buying some of my recordings, there's another way that you could help, and this is a really wonderful way. It's through a site called Patreon. I have a site on Patreon, and it's a way for people to support me and form a little community around that, which is great. And I see several of my Patreon members communicating with each other on these live streams in the comments section, which is really nice. On Patreon, I'll be sharing things that are unique, things that I won't share elsewhere. Maybe first drafts, rough drafts of brand new songs. Certainly any recordings or videos of me singing brand new songs, finished versions. I will debut them there before anywhere else. We'll do things like the private Zoom concert, which patrons out there already. That's something that I'm planning to do very soon. Photos of things from earlier days in my career, or some of the great things I've seen, some of the people that I've met, some old stories. It's a fun site. There's a lot up there already, and I'll be adding to it on a regular basis. And so there's an exclusive, there's a bunch of exclusive stuff for you there. But more importantly, it's a way for you to support me on a monthly basis, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month, or up to any amount that you're able and willing to. And I appreciate everybody who supports me in any way, at whatever level that you can. And so because of that, I have made no tiers. You don't get access to more if you are able to give more. Everybody gets access to everything equally. So this next song is about a man by the name of Max Patkin. He's gone now, but for 50 years, Max Patkin was known as the Clown Prince of baseball. And he would go around doing performances at minor league baseball games, occasionally in a major league park, but most of his career was spent in the minor leagues. And he would do one-night stands. He did over 5,000 one-night stands. That's pretty amazing. And he never failed to show up for a single one, which is even more amazing. And he was very beloved throughout the baseball world. You might have seen him in the movie Bull Durham. He was an old man at the time, and he was a great jitterbug dancer. And so he danced with Sarah Sarandon in the bar scene there when Kevin Costner didn't want to dance. And anyway, when I first wrote this song, and before I had recorded it for an album, I wanted my dad to hear it, so I either sang it live onto a cassette, or I had a live version from a show, and I copied it onto another cassette. I can't remember now, but I sent it to my dad. Thought he'd appreciate it. And my dad ended up sending it to a fellow by the name of Angelo Cataldi, who is a very well-known sports talk radio broadcaster in Philadelphia. And Angelo really liked the song, and Angelo invited Max Patkin to be on his show the day that he played my song from the cassette I had sent my dad. And Max Patkin loved the song, and apparently my dad had written the phone number at the house on the cassette tape. So Angelo passed that on to Max Patkin, and I don't know, a few days later, Max Patkin called my parents' house. Well, I live in North Carolina and my parents live in Philadelphia, but I just happened to be at their house because I was on my way to Ireland and I was going to fly from Philadelphia. So I figured I'd stop and see my folks for a few days. And one day my mom yelled up from the bottom of the stairs, there was a telephone call for me. Well, nobody in Philadelphia would have even known that I was there. But Max Patkin thought I lived at that house, and so he called that number looking for me, and I was there. My mom said it was somebody named Max Patkin. So I answered the phone, and Max told me how much he liked my song. And when he found out I was in town, he invited me to meet him the next day. I was going to fly to Ireland 2 days later. So I had the next day free, and Max invited me to meet him at the municipal courthouse, downtown Philadelphia. He had recently retired at the age of 78, and his hobby in his retirement was to watch trials, and he would come to the courthouse every day. And so how can you turn down Max Patkin when he invites you to come meet him at the courthouse? So I went down there the next morning, met him in the lobby, and it pretty soon became very clear why he was hanging out at the courthouse every day. It was because everybody who worked there would stop by and say hi to him and chat him up. Everybody from the judges down to the bailiffs to the sheriffs, you name it, court stenographers. And so he had a place where he could go every day where he was loved and remembered. And so it made perfect sense. So we hung out for about an hour, just chatting about various things. And then he invited me to come upstairs and watch a trial with him. It was a double murder trial. And, it's a pretty grim situation. And there are rules of decorum in courtrooms that Max and his friend Hank, who was 83 years old, I think, at the time, they were breaking religiously. Like, you're not allowed to make any noise in a courtroom. You can't do things like read a newspaper, but that's exactly what Hank was doing, was rustling pages of a newspaper. Max was turned around trying to hawk copies of his books to the people sitting in the row behind us. Hank fell asleep not long after that and started to snore. But because this was Max Patkin and Max's friend Hank, they could get away with anything. Nobody said a word. The whole day was a beautiful experience. And I said goodbye to Max and went home and one last thing. Before we parted, Max told me he would like to manage me. And he talked about booking me into minor league ballparks, do the circuit, which I thought could not have been more awesome. Well, the next day I flew to Ireland, and a day or two after that I got an email from my mom telling me Max Patkin had just died of a heart attack. So the original title of this song was Going to Heaven, but I changed it to Gone to Heaven.
His uniform was baggy, and he had gigantic teeth. His hat was always cockeyed, and he had big feet. A heart as big as Baltimore, a heart as big as Devon. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin, he was vaudeville, last of the old-time clowns, funniest looking fella that ever went from town to town, with the kind of face that he himself said only a mother could love. With his loosey-goosey limbs and his floppy leather glove, Max Patkin worked 3 innings, and they'd let him coach first base. He'd call a meeting with the batter and then kiss him on the face. Then he'd do his chicken walk, then his geyser bit. Or he'd take a sip of soda, tilt his head back and spit. Oh, Max would leave him howling, then be slumped upon a stool, with his back against the locker, filling the whirlpool. dirtied up and sweaty, down to a stocking feet. He'd give the clubhouse boy $5 to scrape the mud off of his cleats. Oh, the clown prince of baseball, he did 5,000 gigs. For 50 years he shared the bill with circus dogs and talking pigs. By the 9th inning, he'd be back in his motel with an early morning wake-up call. The next night he'd be someplace else. Oh, the towels in every motel room, they all smell like chlorine. From the rookie leagues to AAA and all points in between. And all those hotshot prospects that ever were big league bound, we saw them on the way up, some on the way back down. And oh, to be a clown these days, you've got to have thick skin, a flask in your back pocket or a bottle of aspirin. Drunk sometimes will get you for the team that did not win. Well, it's tough to be a clown these days. You've got to have thick skin. Well, Max Patkin loved the children, and the children, they loved him. His body would fall apart sometimes, and he'd patch it up for them. And he never, ever, not even one time, sold an autograph. Funny man, Max Patkin. He made people laugh. But the times changed on Max Patkin. Along came rock and roll. They blare it from the speakers now if ever there's a lull. Some guy in a chicken suit circling the bases with a corporate logo on his back, and then one or two other places. So if there's a St. Peter and he's sitting by the gate, well, he probably saw Max play sometime and wiped clean Max's slate. That corny old routine dated back to 1947. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven. Max Patkin made the children laugh, and for that he's gone to heaven.
Well, I see it's getting close to 4 o'clock, but like every week, I'm not going to stop at 4. I'm just going to play the set list that I want to play. And if you can stay with me till the end, that's great. And if you need to turn away, thank you for being here. Let's see. This is a song about a really good deed that I found out about. Started out with a little girl who desperately wanted to be able to take music lessons. She wanted to play the flute. But times were hard and her mom couldn't afford to buy one or rent one or to pay for music lessons. And the little girl had to drop out of the school band. She was heartbroken. But a woman living in the holler not far away heard about this secondhand and happened to have a flute. She hadn't played it in years. It was in her closet. The flute had meant the world to her once upon a time. She had traveled extensively with it. It had always been there for her when she just needed to make some music. But she wasn't playing it anymore. And this little girl desperately wanted to play music. And so she passed this flute on as a Christmas present. And I found out about this, and well, that's the kind of thing that I believe ought to be celebrated. So I wrote the song called A Toast to the Woman in the Holler. And very happy to say the little girl, Catherine, is now a grown woman. And she continued with her flute lessons and still plays to this day.
saxophone. Catherine wanted a flute. And there was one in the window of the music store that happened to be a real beaut. But Mummy couldn't afford it. And this much Catherine knew. Still she stood there a few minutes dreaming, knowing that it wouldn't come true. Christmas time was a-comin'. Catherine had the blues. Her mom asked her what she wanted. Catherine didn't tell the truth. She knew there wasn't the money, not even for one to rent. But the only thing that Catherine really wanted was to play an instrument. Catherine cried for a month in her bedroom. She had to quit the school band. Now the woman that lived in the holler, she heard about the second hand, and the goodness gathered within her, and it fluttered like butterflies. She, in a vision, released them. She watched them take to the skies. Now on a very cold night in December, maybe the coldest night of the year, the woman that lived in the holler, she cried a few secret tears for those last few moments of glory, and the glories that had all been before, and the times that had been there to rescue her. She set her flute down by the door. Well, now people, they whisper about her. The locals say she's a witch, although she'd be the first to come help them if they ended up in a ditch. And those candles she lights at her altar, well, they burn as a gesture of love, the kind they talk about in the churches, yet they know so little of. So it's one day just after Christmas, Catherine wore her new hat. Her mom brought her out to the holler. The woman was there with her cats. Catherine had no idea. Well, maybe someday she would, that what she would soon be receiving was being given for a greater good. So here's to the sweet gift of music. Here's to the power of song. Here's a toast to the woman in the holler for passing these things along. Now the case, it was covered with stickers, the words that this woman had scrawled from the magic places she had been to, trinkets from her own Mardi Gras. But it all meant nothing to Catherine, 'cause it wasn't her story to tell. She'll have her own words and stickers, should she ever fall under the spell. So it's Catherine's turn now to hold it, and here's hoping she'll learn how to play. Maybe she'll drop by the holler to visit this woman someday. Maybe she'll come with her boyfriend, the one who plays saxophone. Maybe they'll play for the woman a few things they made up on their own. Here's to the sweet gift of music. Here's to the power of song. Here's a toast to the woman in the holler for passing these things along.
I have a couple more for you. Years ago, I used to work in fruit orchards. I picked a lot of citrus fruit, about 3 seasons worth. Picked a couple of seasons of apples, and that's where this story takes place. I was picking apples in Wenatchee, Washington, just outside of Wenatchee, a little community called Malaga. And this is a story about a couple of the people that I worked with. I bought my first vehicle with my Apple money. It was a 1966 Dodge van, the kind with 3 on the tree and the engine between the seats. You could flip the cover up and get to it right there, which I had to do lots. And it was unpainted. It was primer brown, and I left it that way the whole time I owned it. So this is about 2 friends of mine named Jesus and Maria.
Jesus was drunk when he roughed up Maria, kicked down the door, he was looking for a fight. The children fell asleep beside their mother. Maria whimpered all through the night. Well, Jesus took the car, he took all the money, 6-pack of bud, and a change of clothes. He left Maria with the kids in the trailer, and I heard he went back to Mexico. This was not the first time that he'd struck her, and I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past. Maria stayed in the trailer all morning. Maria stayed there all afternoon. There was a welt on her cheek Maria was hiding in the shape of a purple crescent moon. And at work the next day nobody was talking, so I made up the words to Maria's lament. And at dinner time that night nobody was hungry. Everybody just stayed inside their tents. This was not the first time that he'd struck her, and I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past. Maria's mother lived down in Porterville. Well, that's an orange picking town. Our apple season was just about over, and I myself was California bound. I bought an old Dodge van with my Apple money. I offered them a ride on down the coast. I would loan them all the bus fare back to Porterville, when in Sacramento I would take a different road. We drove down the coast, mostly in silence, held the baby and she cried. There was little Isabella trying to comfort her. Me, I wanted to talk, but my tongue was tied. There came a letter with the money from Maria and a photograph of Jesus and the kids. Maria, she was there behind the camera. It made me wonder about the bruises it might have hidden. This was not the first time that he'd struck her, and I hate to say, but it's probably not the last. This time she swore she's never gonna take him back again. She said that all too often in the past.
That was called Maria's Lament. That was from my first CD, A Finger Painter's Mural. I don't think I've played that song live in over 15 years. So this is great. I love being able to do this. I love being able to sing every week. It's just, as you can imagine, it's awful. It's awful not having my normal touring schedule. You know, I like to get out and see my friends. I like to sing for you in person. So if any of you live within a couple hours of Asheville, North Carolina, and you would like to have a properly social distanced private concert right at your house or outside in your yard, we can do this. I did this a few nights ago around a swimming pool. We had about 20 people, and everybody was about 10 feet from each other, and it was great. So if you're jonesing for some live music and you live not too far from Asheville, I'd be happy to drive a couple hours and come and play for you. And if you live further than that, I'd be happy to do it over Zoom. So let's talk. The more I can sing, the better. I'm going to play you two more songs. I said one, but I'm going to do you two more. And let me just make sure there's nothing else I wanted to mention today. Love to know where you're listening from. So if you could put that in the comments. And if you have any requests for future shows, I'd love to know what they are. And I'll eventually work them in if I can. Once again, I'm just want to mention the fact that because there's no ticket price for these live streams, it's totally on the honor system, and it's totally a pay what you wish, what you can situation. And anything that you're able to tip, Barbie and I both appreciate it very much. So every week I tend to play a song that was written as an assignment at the Lambs Retreat for Songwriters in Harbor Springs, Michigan, which is a retreat that I've taught at a number of times, but I also attend it the years that I'm not on staff when I'm able to. I love it. Love the folks up there, and I love the fact that we're all given a songwriting assignment on the first day. You have 48 hours to write that song, and on Sunday we all get together and sing the songs that we wrote, and we all get given a different assignment, and they're created from scratch the week before by John Lamb, the director. And sometimes they're just downright brilliant, these assignments. They're like a paragraph or two, and it's just a lot of colorful information that you can take and run with. You can use as much or as little of it as possible, even if one word in that entire assignment inspires you to write a song that's completely different from everything in the assignment. That's fine. So you write a song. That's what matters. Speaking of writing a song, if you're interested in taking songwriting lessons with me over Zoom, I would love to do more of that. Just contact me. And if you're interested in some guitar lessons over Zoom, we could probably handle everything I know in one lesson. But I'd love to put a little songwriters group together, and you can be at any level. We'll work it out. We'll keep people on the beginner levels all in the same group, and people who are more advanced can be in a group with each other. So I'm just putting that out there now. So the premise of the songwriting assignment was that I'm supposedly in some kind of a formal dinner ball setting, and a woman taps me on the shoulder and asks me if I would like to dance. I don't dance. I don't ever dance. Period. Not going to happen. Don't even imagine it. It is a mathematical and a scientific impossibility. Truly. And it's all because I was severely traumatized in the 6th grade on a dance floor. We used to have to come back. Those of us who attended Kinwood Elementary School in suburban Philadelphia would have to come back to school on Friday nights after dinner for 16 weeks of dance lessons. We had a woman who was 167 years old teaching us the latest, greatest, hippest dance steps from when she was a kid. Well, when I was in the 6th grade, the boys and the girls did not even talk to one another yet. So here we were, all in the gymnasium, with the boys lined up against one wall, and way across the gym, the girls lined up against the other wall. And they were playing records, and there was nobody dancing, and so they realized we had a problem. When we showed up for week 2, they had a solution. All the girls, as they arrived, were told to take their left shoe off, throw them in the center of the gym. A big pile formed of left shoes. And just before that first dance, after all the boys were there, we were all told to go pick a shoe, and the owner of that shoe was going to be your partner for the entire night, and that's how I got traumatized. I also used to have a strange habit of picking 2 of those left shoes.
Certain girl I was hoping to meet. Would have asked her to dance, but for my 2 left feet, she wasn't sitting with anyone else. I was just sitting there all by myself. I said I didn't dance, I had 2 left feet. To this other girl standing over me in my seat. Besides, it really wasn't my kind of beat. This wasn't the girl I was hoping to meet. I wasn't attractive, not on first glance. She wouldn't go away, but I didn't want to dance. She lifted me up to my 2 left feet. My eyes went for the girl I was hoping to meet. Well, I was thinking I should make a break for the door. She pulled me out there onto the dance floor. The band started in on an old-fashioned waltz. She didn't lead, and so I did by default. It was awkward enough, those very first steps. Stepped on her right toes, then on her left. Fading her eyes, I tried to be discreet, keeping tabs on the girl I was hoping to meet. Me relax. She moved it up to the small of my back. Touching the nerve, I shot her a glance. She said, I thought you told me that you couldn't dance. She pointed down at my right foot, gone all the right places, wherever I'd put it. She followed me when I spun her around, and when I dipped her all the way down, the way her hair fell back hung to the floor, the way we locked eyes then and forevermore. The thing about beauty, and I don't know why, sometimes you don't see it till it pokes you in the eye. The one song ended and another began. We exchanged names and applauded the band. I guess I never did let go of her hand. For the next couple hours we danced and we danced, and now we go out dancing every Saturday night. She dresses up, she's quite a sight. This was the girl I didn't want to meet, but that was the guy with the 2 left feet.
I'm going to shift over to the piano for one last song here. Move this mic out of the way. Here we go. So, before I sing this last song, I just want to say thank you to Barbie Angel for being there, doing a fantastic job like she always does. And I know you guys value her being there too. I'm going to close with a song I wrote in 1981 after hitchhiking from Philadelphia to San Francisco. I wrote it the first day I was in San Francisco. The song has been covered by a lot of people through the years. It's really taken on a life of its own in a way I never could have imagined. It's been recorded by my good friend David Lamott, just here in Black Mountain, North Carolina. It's been recorded by my friend Sarah Hickman in Texas. Kathy Mattea recorded it in a film called Dear Mr. Goodlife. The African Children's Choir of Uganda has recorded this song, and several others. So, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll be with me next week. Same time, Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern.
I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. If you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help him up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble, sometimes you'll just lie down, sometimes you will get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color, you might lose a little faith. But we are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Keep each other going, and we show each other signs.
Got a cat on my lap.
So thank you for the water. Thought I was gonna die out here in in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. Got a little mana. It was a gift from someone who was passing by. Offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going. We show each other signs.
Stay safe. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.